Hello everyone, Rurikhan here, and today I'm going to bring you a very different video. On this particular video, you guys are going to be able to watch a press conference that I recently attended. The press conference is related to God of War Ascension. Two of the developers actually made their way to Portugal to promote this amazing game, which, as you guys know, I've already been extremely excited about it. You can only dream what my excitement level is right now that I've actually had a chance to be in a press event, and I actually had a one-to-one interview with one of the lead developers of God of War Ascension. So over the next couple of days, you guys will see 3 videos go up. One of them is this one that you're watching right now, which is the press event itself. After that, I will upload a video of the one-on-one interview, and after that I will also upload a video that I did on a fan event that the developers did after doing the press event itself. I don't want to really extend myself too much because I know that I do tend to babble on, so without any further ado, I'm going to give you guys the video, and eventually I will make a video where I will do all that incessant babbling that I tend to do, so that you guys know all of the details of how I managed to get access to this press event and whatnot. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy the video. The quality is not as good as I would like because obviously it was my first press event and all that, so I mean, just bear with me, and I will explain everything in the last video where I will kind of make a conclusion and all that. But I've already spoken far too much. Please enjoy the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Well, I'll just start with, hi, my name is Mark Simon. I'm the lead game designer for God of War Ascension, and
I'm Jason McDonald, lead combat designer.
So, super excited to be here and show you a couple of things that haven't been shown to anybody. That kind of started off, single player has always been our bread and butter. We also have multiplayer this time around. A very ambitious project that Sony Santa Monica is doing, and some of the things that we kind of hope to get back to with their single players, to kind of have Kratos go on this grand odyssey, this grand adventure, and have him go to a bunch of different locales and see some of the creatures that he's never had in any of the other games. And rather than me talk about it, how about we just show it to you?
I pledged an oath in blood. And now my home. All that I loved is gone. Pain is all I have left.
Hello, Kratos.
You have no reason to trust me, Spartan. I only ask that you try.
You leave an army in disarray. Return to us, General.
You will need this skill for the path ahead.
And what path is that?
You will return.
So I think you can see that the story that we're kind of telling in this adventure is before God of War 1, and we return to Kratos' past. Maybe you've seen some of his past in previous or other God of War games that you had a little bit of backstory in a movie, and in God of War Ascension we go back to time where we're actually going to let you play some of these things that lead into God of War 1 and the other trilogy games, where you find out about Kratos and why he was so enraged, or why he was so tormented by the gods. This adventure is going to kind of explain to you what basically makes someone snap and turn out to be the way that he was. It's also going to take you back to a time before, after he had his tragedy with his wife and child, and then he leads into God of War 1, he's cursing the gods about his torment. He's made a bond with Ares, and he needs to break that bond. He's basically made a deal with the devil, and making a deal with the devil and breaking that deal is he's gonna suffer some consequences for that. And the consequences in this game are the Furies. And the Furies are these primordial, very powerful, more powerful than gods, and they are going to be his nemesis that he has to combat in this adventure. So we tried to do a lot of things different in this game in terms of the adventure, again, that we're trying to bring you on. It's a full single-player adventure. We're not holding back at all. We definitely know where our bread and butter is. So, and for me, I'm just one of a very large team. We have 150 to 200 people at Sony Santa Monica working on this project, and I got the luxury to come to Portugal to show it to you. So one of the things that we wanted to kind of show you was the an exclusive kind of behind the scenes and how we got to this project and where we're at now. And yeah, show that to you now. All right, that's it. That's how we got it.
Game director at God of War Ascension. What you're about to see is a making of video that we've been shooting over about 2+ years. It gives you a good idea of the inception of an idea all the way through to the final product. Keep in mind that this is a work in progress. Enjoy. My goal for this game is basically the same leap that we went from God of War 2 to God of War 3 from an art standpoint. We're trying to push that in a design standpoint. You need a vertical drop down so that the player that's left there can't run back.
We're going to evolve it. We're not going to stick with the same thing that we did in the last game. We're going to try to evolve. We're going to pick a new thing. It's very challenging for us, and we're going to try to make it awesome.
This time, the game's a prequel, so Kratos will be younger, so maybe his fighting style might be a little bit rougher. We want to definitely show a different side of him.
We would like to make the world moving as opposed to static. We're also changing the player mechanics a little bit.
To be able to consistently break new ground with each God of War title is always exciting, and to be fronting this with Todd is going to be great. We always challenge the industry, and hopefully we're able to do that again with this title.
I can look at something and I know how I want it to feel versus looking at something and knowing how I want it to look. From an art standpoint, I will rely heavier on the art director and the guys that have been doing it for years and years. You know, they're the masters.
Todd and I really get each other. We're very comfortable with each other. We're not, afraid to call bullshit on each other. So we're pretty honest with each other, which I think is good, but at the same time, we trust each other. We were kind of talking about maybe doing kind of spikes, or maybe I was like, looks a little bit bigger, kind of like a lion's tail, and kind of ties on the spikes on his head or something. This is my first time art correcting. It's a huge task, something I don't take lightly. It's pretty intimidating and daunting, especially with the caliber of artists we have at the studio, and these guys are just, everyone just knows their crafts so well. It's been a humbling experience. I think the main thing is I just facilitate making the game come together and letting all the artists kind of do what they do best. think probably the biggest challenge I face is kind of continuing this legacy of making great-looking games from the guys on the original God of War 1, to Stig taking over as art director on God of War 2, Ken Feldman taking over as art director on God of War 3. There's huge shoes to fill. You know, those guys just done an amazing job. It's just trying to make sure I've got all the bases covered, and I'm really kind of living up to the legacy of what we've done in the studio.
The goal is always the same. It's like you want to create just basically a kick-ass game. You want to create a game that you yourself would have fun playing.
It's the biggest challenge of each weapon is making it work with the chain blade. The difference between previous God of Wars and this game in terms of the weapons. There's a sword, there's a club, spear, shield, and a sling. And these are all taken from the goats because they carry those weapons, and when you kill them, they drop the weapon. You have the choice to pick it up. Then you use those weapons in conjunction with your blades. So that's kind of the challenge of the design, trying to get the blades to work with 5 different kind of weapons that aren't really his weapons, but they become his weapons when he picks them up. So you can still swing the blades like you do with square or triangle. But if you press circle, now you can use the weapon you just picked up, so that becomes part of your arsenal. That weapon's a club, like a bead stick, knock the opponent into left field pretty much. The spear is mainly a projectile weapon. You don't really do any melee with it. It's purely long range. But you're also allowed to combo with the blades. Is what we call weapon finishers. So if you're doing like a blade combo, and then you press the world weapon button, you will do like a specific world weapon kind of finisher like that. Sometimes the goats go into these kneeling positions. That's when I could grab them and do certain CS moves on them. That's the change. In this game, the grunt characters actually go into stun states where I can do specific grabs depending on the stun state that they're in.
The fact that Kratos is younger, it'll allow us to explore different abilities, different moves that he has that he didn't have in the original trilogy, so we have the chance to show a different side of Kratos. We have a layering system, which is being worked on and developed. It's going to allow us to be able to create animations in a much easier way. This is the Cyclops walking by this awesome statue of Aphrodite. As you can see, he's kind of ignoring her. Now, even though it's the same animation of him walking, he's kind of looking at her. This is the actual layer that was put on top of the regular walk, which is this walk. And by combining the new layer on top of this walk, this is the end result, which is still moving forward, but now he's kind of looking and noticing her. So that kind of detail is going to be able to be throughout the game this time around. One of the most exciting things that we're working on are new sets of navigations. Before you climb the wall, and it was kind of always had to be this kind of flat wall. But now we want to be able to create more of an organic environment that Kratos can interact with. So he's going to be able to sort of climb through these cracks on the walls. Another new exciting thing that we're working on is you can now slide down the wall, but we're going to make it this kind of adrenaline, high-action moment.
Yeah, so new God of War, that means new gameplay. And as you saw in the making of video, that's one of the most exciting things about starting a new game is just figuring out what we're going to do with Kratos, what we're going to do to provide new content for people. So this time around, we wanted to revamp Kratos a little bit. Kratos, you'll find at the start of the game, is a little bit weaker than he used to be. His combos are shorter, his slams are a little bit weaker. And what we've added is a new rage system. Not that music. But we added a new rage system that Kratos can build during each fight. So now every single time you go into a fight, if you perform well, you don't get hit, you evade, you attack, you'll build this rage meter, and when it's full, Kratos will become very strong. He'll become almost as strong as you'll see him in God of War 1 through 3. And we added this because we wanted to make sure that every fight there was a little metagame included of trying to build this meter in addition to killing all the enemies. In previous God of Wars, Kratos usually always finds various weapons during his quest. This game's no different. This time he'll be finding elements that he can actually put into his blades. This will change his special attacks around, it'll change the way the blades perform, and also change the way that rage ability works. And in addition to that, we've also had the sub-weapon system, which allows Kratos to disarm enemies, pick them up, use them against other enemies, providing even more options within the combat to make sure that every fight's not the same. Now, in addition to the combat mechanics, we've also revamped his nav system a bit. As we saw in the video, he can climb walls a little bit better, a little bit smoother. He looks a lot better than he ever did. And now he also can slide on the floor and the wall, providing some more I guess, high-octane, fast-paced navigation segments. So I think at this point it would be best just to show you some of this and then we'll leave our game.
Peggy 18.
I pledged an oath in blood, and now my home, all that I loved, is gone. Pain is all I have left.
So that's our single player demo. We released that, I think, Wednesday this week for people in PSN to be able to download it and play it. It's just a tiny fraction of the single player experience, but we think that when our fans get a hold of it, they're going to love it. And that kind of just that's a taste of what the whole package has to offer. I think this game is the most ambitious project I think our studio has ever taken on. It's for fans and for people who have never played the series, this is probably a really great game for them to be picking up next couple of weeks. I think we're out March 13th. This small segment you saw was single player, we're very focused on that, but there's a massive thing that we undertook too in multiplayer, and I think Jason can explain to you some of the things that you experienced in that.
Yeah, so excuse me just a minute. Like, no matter how many times I play that, I get a little nervous when I miss some of these buttons. But
you did great.
Yeah, so multiplayer. You know, why do we do it? And why are we trying this in a God of War game? We just wanted to provide the same kind of epic experience, the same kind of brutality in a multiplayer experience. So one of the first things we did at the end of God of War 3 is we attempted this. We played, you know, a little bit of just Kratos in the arena fighting each other, fighting another Kratos just to see how it was, and it was fun. And people liked it. So what we wanted to do is get the heart of soul of God of War into multiplayer, just like what you saw there, just the same grand scale, the same epic brutality. And the way we did this is just having big levels. You know, we showed one of them in the open beta content with the big giant level with 8 players and a giant Cyclops that you can fill as a team. That was just 1 out of 3 large levels. We also showed a smaller level as well for more tighter combat experience. There's 3 more of those as well. And we showed 2 allegiances that you can pick from. They're kind of like classes in this game where they are what determine what your abilities are, what kind of role you are. So if you want to be a killer, you could be that kind of guy. If you want to be kind of a resilient tank that's hard to die, that's hard to kill, you could be that guy. You could be the kind of guy that supports a team and heals everybody. All of that is represented within the classes or the allegiances, and there's 4 of those. So when you look at all of that content in terms of the abilities and just all the levels and all that stuff, this is definitely the biggest God of War we've ever made. And we're very excited for people to get their hands on it March 13th.
So some of the things I mentioned, Jay was like, hey, you need to explain to him what Zipper Tech was. If you don't know what Zipper Tech is, it's when you rip open the guts and the guts spill out.
Yeah, we like doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of signature, so we're going to keep doing that. Another thing to just imagine is that we've made 3 God of War games up to this point. It's our 4th that Sony Santa Monica has done. This is our first undertaking in multiplayer, as Jason said. But this is the first time for you and the fans to be able to play with one another or play against one another. I think that's really compelling. We worked for about 3 years or so on this project, and the entire way through we had thousands and thousands of good ideas, and you only see a fraction of those good ideas make it all the way to the final product in our AAA nature. Just on behalf of our studio, again, it's awesome to be able to come out here and present to you, and thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Só relembrar que não, por favor, não edite, não publiquem nada se eventualmente filmaram alguma parte do gameplay, porque está embargado ainda. Tudo o resto não está embargado, alguém já tinha perguntado, portanto as entrevistas que fizerem hoje isso podem publicar quando quiserem, só mesmo o gameplay é que está embargado, está bem? Se tiverem alguma pergunta, é agora a altura certa? Não?
I've noticed that there are no save points in this game. It's the first God of War game with no save points. Why is that?
So the save system will be done automatically, and you'll have checkpoints, which are regular spots that update in the game. And the save points will be part of a chapter system. So the reason why we put that in there is many times in like the previous games, let's say you really liked a section of the game, you wanted to show Hermes getting his leg chopped off. You'd had to make a save in that spot for it. And in this game, we gave you a bunch of different chapter points where, just in case you forgot to make that save, and somebody came over and you wanted to show them an epic moment that you didn't make a save point for, it'll be there for you. We made sure that we record those spots for you.
Thank you.
Earlier, you guys said that this game predates God of War 1. Does it also predate Chains of Olympus?
Yes.
Predates everything, man.
Yeah, so that's a great point. It's one thing I didn't mention is that, you know, if you've never played the series, you're essentially going to play the first game in the series right now. So for someone who's never played God of War, they can start at the very beginning.
And as Mark said earlier, this is showing the story of this torment that's kind of alluded to in every single God of War game. And, you know, we think it's going to be a compelling story for you guys.
Yeah, just shout.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm way in the back. I have some really quick remarks about the game. You said now that it's an experience that's going to bring closer to who never played God of War before. Is this intentionally you're trying to refresh the franchise, or it's just one of like, meaning that it's going to just to be this prequel, no more prequels in the future?
Well, there's a lot of life in Kratos. I think he's a compelling character. I love playing him, besides just designing for him. And I think the mythos, Greek mythos, there's a lot of myths that we haven't touched, and there's a lot of places that you haven't seen yet, especially in this game. And when you give the team 3 years to work on something, we find a whole bunch of new things to improve, make better, make new, create. So I think that you'll find that this game is definitely it's the full single player experience, but it's so much more because it also has multiplayer.
And at the start of or at the end of every God of War project, we always talk amongst ourselves and try to figure out if there's another story to tell. And if there is, we usually make one. So
we definitely wanted to tell the story.
Não há mais perguntas? Podes.
Sorry again. So what you're saying, this is the prequel, right?
Yes.
And there's possibility in the future to explore spin-offs of this prequel?
Well, you probably have to talk to our bosses about that. Right now, all we're concentrating on is this story, this game. It's actually a little bit different for us because, like I said, with multiplayer, normally team would be on vacation and people would talk about single player and that's it. But actually, we still have a lot of the team still around, still working on multiplayer to this day. When we release the game, they'll be in the studio working because we have to support our community, still be creating content for this game. So for stuff in the future, awesome, speculate. Totally wish we could, you know, continue everything going. I mean, I love working on this franchise, so I don't know, basically, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it's up to the boss.
Yes. Below my pay grade.
No immediately plans for the future then.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask if the story of God of War Ascension is directly connected to the others, if we are going to see places, characters, or other things from the other games in this previous timeline.
I think this timeline kind of gives you the framework for a lot of things that maybe have only been explained in movies that you actually will be able to experience. So the experience itself and the story itself is entirely its own, but it's not going to take anything that you've already seen in 1, 2, or 3. They've made very special attention to make sure that it definitely fits.
For example, there are other things in other games which have been explained through prequels. For example, Chains of Olympus explained what happened to Atlas and other things. I was just asking if this game will explain the framework for other games in that same fashion.
I think, yeah, without spoiling any story for anybody else, I think you find if you play this game, you'll learn a lot more about Kratos, the man, and you'll learn about some of the things that you maybe only seen in movies or other games.
Thank you.